Welcome to K-12's Lessons Quick Tour. This quick tour will go over preparing for and managing your students' lessons. Each course your student takes has a list of lessons they will complete for the school year. The OLS provides a lesson list for each unit of a course. Most of your students' lessons will require some preparation. Preparing for your students' lessons includes completing any advanced prep work that needs to be done, gathering materials needed for the lesson, and reviewing the lesson before your student takes it. Let's talk first about advanced prep work. There is a reminder in your to-do list area on your Learning Coach homepage to check for advanced prep that you and your student may need to work on for an upcoming lesson. Advanced prep is something that needs to be done well before your student takes a lesson, like planting a seed for a science assignment or doing research for a project. Clicking the reminder opens the Advanced Prep window. The Advanced Prep window shows advanced prep that needs to be done today or for the week. You can use the switcher to view the day or the week's advanced. Printing your advanced prep is a good way to create a checklist of what you need to do this week for all of your students' lessons. If you have more than one student in the OLS, the advanced prep opens for all of your students. You can use the student switcher to view advanced prep for just one of your students. Now let's close out of the advanced prep window. Advanced prep is listed directly on your student's plan, so it's available from the plan menu. We've covered the first way to prepare for your students' lessons by viewing their advanced prep. Now we're going to move on to the second way to prepare for your students' lessons by gathering materials. Materials need to be gathered before your student takes a lesson, but this can be done right before the lesson is taken. You can look at the materials you need from the plan menu. Think of the plan menu in the terms of planning for your students' lessons for today. That's why the daily plan, the advanced prep, and materials for today are all listed here. The materials window works just like the advanced prep window. You see the student and the view switchers and the ability to print your students' daily or weekly course materials list. Just like advanced prep, you can print a list of your students' course materials from here. To print your students' specific course materials, select the linked course materials next to the print icon, and the course materials will display in a new window for you to print. Now let's return to the student's course material window. Many learning coaches will print the materials needed for next week's lessons and gather them together so their students have everything they need when they need them. There are some materials that you will gather from your house like crayons or coins, and some materials that are provided by K-12 that you received in your materials kit. You will see this on this list. Let's return to the home page and see our third way to prepare for lessons. Now that we've reviewed how to check for advanced prep and course materials for students' lessons, we are going to review the lesson. Many learning coaches choose to review lessons before their students take them, so they are prepared for any questions their students may have. If the lesson is adaptive, which means it adapts or changes to your students' understanding of key concepts, you should not review the lesson beforehand, since this will create a unique path for you and not for your student. You can get to your students' lessons 3 different ways in the OLS: through their lessons link under their name, through their daily or weekly plans, or from the courses menu. The first way is directly from your home page. If you have one student, their lessons will be listed out for you. If you have more than one student, their lessons will be under the lessons link. Your students' courses are listed under their lessons link. Select a course, and you are taken to your student's most current lesson. You are taken to your student's most current lesson by course. Now we're going to move on to the second way to get your students' lessons. The second way to get to your students' lessons is through their plans. Lessons are listed directly on your student's daily or weekly plans. Select the daily or weekly plan link for your student. From your student's daily or weekly plan, you can click on a lesson title to get to the lesson. You are taken to the lesson you selected. Now we're going to move on to the third way to get to your students. The third way to get to your students' lessons is through the courses menu. The courses menu gives you access to the lesson lists for each course. The course page shows you which unit you are currently on and the list of lessons for that selected unit. The double orange arrows indicate what lesson you are on. The course page shows the lesson list, materials, advanced prep, and objectives for the lessons in the unit. In your student's lesson list, you will see a number of symbols that describe the lesson and correspond to your student's progress in that lesson. The first column shows whether it's an adaptive lesson, the second column, whether it's an adult guided lesson, the third column, whether it's an online lesson, the fourth column shows whether there is any advanced prep required to complete the lesson, the fifth column shows whether there is an assessment for the lesson, the sixth and final column displays the completion status for the lesson assessment. All of this information is available in the online help in more detail. When you select a lesson in the OLS, it opens in a fully immersive experience with no other part of the OLS showing, so your student stays focused on learning. While your student is taking a lesson, you may want to know how much of the lesson they've done and how much more is left. Most of the times, the lesson will be measured in pages, so you can see how many pages your student's gone through and how many pages are left. Sometimes the lesson is adaptive and is customized just for your student. It cannot be measured in pages because the number of pages will vary based on the path your student takes. These lessons are measured in estimated time. The time estimates will not be exact because your student may take more or less time to understand something. When you are in an adaptive lesson, simply hover your mouse over the green completion bar at the bottom of the lesson screen. There are tools on the left side of the lesson window that let you close the lesson, navigate the lesson, print the lesson, give K-12 feedback on the lesson, and access the online help. At any point, if you wish to leave the lesson, close the lesson from here. Clicking the Close Lesson button returns you to the page in the OLS where you access the lesson. Do not X out of the lesson or you will close the OLS too and have to log back in. You can print the screen you are on or the entire lesson using the Print menu option. If at any time you'd like to leave feedback on the course content, you can do so by selecting the Feedback menu option and visiting our feedback form. If you need further information on lessons and courses, you can access the online help through the Help menu option. The Lesson Navigator is the most powerful tool at your disposal. It provides a list of the lessons, activities, and assessments. You can choose to open any of the lessons, activities, or assessments from the Navigator. The Lesson Navigator gives you the flexibility to go back and review previous parts of the lesson or navigate it in a way that best suits your students' needs. The double orange arrows indicate where you are in the lesson. Now let's return to the lesson list. Many lessons have assessments that let you see if your student understands the key concepts and objectives of the lesson. Clicking the lesson assessment will take you directly to the assessment for your student to take. Once your student's taken the assessment, the results will appear and you can review the previous assessment or retake the assessment. When you close the lesson and return to the lesson list, the lesson status will automatically be marked as complete if the assessment was mastered. Let's take a closer look at the status icons for lessons. Rolling over the icons will display a message reminding you of what status means. Not complete is a lesson that has not been done yet. Not mastered is a lesson that's done, but the assessment hasn't been mastered yet. Complete is a lesson that's been done, and the assessment, if the lesson has one, has been mastered. If a lesson doesn't have an assessment, it will be marked as complete as soon as you're done with it. Skipped is a lesson that has been intentionally marked as skipped by a learning coach or teacher. If a lesson is not done yet, you can click on the status icon to update the status. A pop-up displays where you can mark that you and your student are done with the lesson. When you click Done, you are able to enter the amount of time you've spent on the lesson. This time will be added to any attendance you have already logged for the day. You can also skip a lesson by clicking I want to skip this lesson, and then click Save. Saving the status will now show the lesson as skipped and remove the lesson from your student's plan. If you want to unskip the lesson and put it back on your plan, you can click the status icon again, and from the pop-up, choose Put this lesson back on your plan. These icons appear on your student's plan and on their lesson lists, so we will see that for the student's daily plan, it will now show that we have put this lesson back on their plan as not complete. As you can see, this lesson is no longer marked as skipped and is back on the student's lesson to be completed. Now you have reviewed how to prepare for and manage your students' lessons. Thank you for watching this quick tour on lessons. Please watch all the quick tours available so you can get the most out of K-12's online school.